All right, good morning and welcome to another episode of the Daily Read. This is Romans chapter 12. It's a great chapter. Let's get right into it. In verse 1 and 2, Paul brings out this line that I think is just so helpful, not only for our current cultural context, but any time that there is people. I don't know how else to say that. For any living human being during any time period in history, this chapter and how it opens is great. Let me just read it to you. I appeal to you, therefore, brothers, by the mercy of God, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual worship. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. Now, the reason I think that's good for any human at any point in history is because of the way it calls us to continually take a lot of responsibility here on seeing how are we thinking, how are we believing, and in what way are we living our life. What I think is interesting is this call to not be conformed to the ways of this world doesn't mean don't listen to music that's from non-Christians. That's not what this is getting at. I think sometimes that's what we've been led to believe. Don't partake in any part of culture. We are at war with culture. It is, the phrase garbage in, garbage out. I'm not saying that's not true. I'm just saying that listening to music by non-Christian artists doesn't make it garbage, okay? All of that being said, what I think this chapter, and particularly these opening verses that are kind of like this boom moment, is Paul is saying, listen, be really, really careful that as we begin to interact with people who are not followers of Jesus, that we continue to operate in a way that is thoroughly marked by following Jesus. Now, what does that mean? I don't think it actually means, because I think a lot of the ways, again, that I think this has been communicated has been like in consuming media and all these different things. I think instead it's at something that's far deeper and has far less to do with what music and movies you watch. It's what ethic do you live your life by? So Galatians chapter 5 is very clear that the ethic, the way, the banner that Christians interact, followers of Jesus interact with the culture is by the fruit of the Spirit, by this: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. That the way in which we represent ourselves to those who do not believe and to those who believe is marked by a king who sits on a throne of a kingdom that cannot be shaken, and that kingdom is marked by love. So then when we're interacting with a world that isn't marked by love, but is rather marked by do whatever you can to succeed. It doesn't matter if you have to step on someone else. If they look different, sound different, are from somewhere different than you, put them down. That's just not how we live our lives. And listen, I'll be really honest with you. That's why every time you come to the Word of God, you think you have finally figured out Jesus, and then he shoves you just a little bit. He pushes you a little bit to let you know you can't put him in a box. You're never going to figure him out completely. He's always going to challenge parts of us because we are still, while we are now defined as saints instead of sinners, that there is still remnants of our sinfulness within our hearts that he is continually working out. He is continually saying, hey, listen, let's work on this. C.S. Lewis gives the example of Jesus does not come in to renovate your home. He comes in to begin to tear down walls. He begins to come and say, listen, we're going to build an entire wing off this side of your home. That's what Jesus does. He's not, listen, Jesus isn't coming in to do an episode of some HGTV show where they just remodel the house. He's doing that episode of Fixer Upper where they dig into the walls and they're like, holy cow, we're going to have to tear this place down and start all over and start over from new in this entire section of the house. And that's the beauty of the gospel. And so when Paul says, listen, don't be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, he is not primarily talking about, hey, listen, don't listen to Diana Ross or the Four Tops or Post Malone or what do country music people listen to? Dan and Shay, I guess, I don't know. But he's not talking about that. Primarily, he's rather talking about how do we interact with the world? How are we saying, hey, listen, the way I live my life is marked by love and by the sacrifice of my life for another, by saying I'm going to love God with my heart, soul, mind, and strength, and then I'm going to love my neighbor as myself. That's what he's saying here. He's saying, listen, just don't give into the way that the world does things. Live by a different ethic. And if we do that, I think we'll see a lot better change in the world than simply by burning all our CDs that aren't Christian. No one has any CDs. I'm showing my age there for saying it. But you get what I'm saying. That being said, love you guys. I hope you have a great day. Romans 12, great chapter. Check it out. And we'll see you tomorrow for Romans chapter 13.